Hey everyone, my name is Stephen Taylor, and thanks for joining me for day one of this 10-day drum starter course. Now with this 10-day drum challenge, we're going to be playing the drums for 10 minutes a day for 10 days. And by the time you get to the end of the 10th day, you're gonna have all the tools you need to play 20 songs on the drums. This day one is my beginner's drum lesson. So if you were to come to my studio for a one-on-one lesson and you had never set at a drum set, or maybe you had tried it years ago, but it's been a long time, this is the exact thing I would teach you. And by the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to play 4 songs. We're gonna be learning the easiest drum beat on the drums called the money beat. You may be saying, Stephen, I don't even have a drum set. That's no problem. Play on pillows, or you can play with your hands on your legs and stomp your feet for the bass drum. If you've never played a song before on the drums, this is the ideal place to start. By the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to play 4 songs. And here's the drum beat we're going to be learning. Okay, so let's break down the individual components of this drum groove. It's very simple, especially when we take it one limb at a time. And I'm also going to be teaching you some basics on how to hold the sticks, seat height, and all of that stuff while this lesson goes on. The bass drum is on beats 1 and 3 of this drum beat. You may be like, Stephen, I don't understand 1 and 3. We count this drum beat 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And when we count that, the bass drum is on the 1 and the 3. So let's just get that first. 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 2, 4. If you can count to 4 and play 1 and 3 here on the kick drum, you've got the first part of this. That's the key to mastering the drums. Break it down to its simplest components, and then we build it up from there. If you've got that, now we want to add the second limb. For me, the easiest one to add is the snare drum, and I'm not going to add anything else. I'm simply going to add the snare drum. One of the songs that you're going to be learning actually starts the song just like this, just kick and snare. So the snare drum comes on beats 2 and 4. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I call this kind of a walking beat because it feels almost like I'm walking. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's play that together. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We really don't want to move on to the hi-hat until we can play these 2 items. Now for some of you you're like, Stephen, I've never played the drums. I don't even know what drums you're talking about. So the big one I'm playing with my foot is called a bass drum. This one in between my legs is called a snare drum. Then we have top tom or tom 1, tom 2, tom 3. Then over here, this is the hi-hat. And this is what we're going to be adding next. So what we're playing in between the bass drum and the snare drum are called quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are quarter notes. There are 4 quarter notes in each measure of music in 4/4 time, or the time that most popular Western music is written in. The hi-hat is going to be playing what we call 8th notes. And again, you count those 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. For every 1 quarter note, there are 2 8th notes. Now with a beat, I find it easiest to break it down beat by beat and then add them together. So beat 1 is going to be kick drum and hi-hat unison, then hi-hat by itself. On beat 2, we have the same thing, but instead of playing the kick drum with the hi-hat, we're playing the snare drum with the hi-hat. It's going to be 2 and. The cool thing about this groove, it's what I call a 2-beat groove. In other words, beats 1 and 2 look exactly like beats 3 and 4. So once you've learned beats 1 and 2, you know how to play beats 3 and 4 as well. For me, the easiest thing to do is play beat 1, then play beat 2. Then play beat 1, beat 2, and make the gap in between them less and less until they're seamlessly one beat. So it'd sound like this. So you see how it was kind of stuttered there for a second? We're not really making a seamless beat yet. We're just focusing on the motions themselves. So now that we've got the components for the first drum beat, some of you are like, Steven, I don't actually know if I'm holding the sticks right. Look, let's give you just a crash course in how to hold the stick. I want to just hold it relaxed like this. So in other words, I don't want to cinch too tight on it. I don't want my pinky coming up like this. I simply want to have it like this and place the drumstick right in my hand. Now, as far as how far in my hand I need it, there's what we call a fulcrum point. Fulcrum is a big word. It just means balance. It's the balance point of the stick. So what I want to do is I want to look at the stick and see where it's the most balanced when I hit it. Back here is going to be too far. Up here, that's too far up. With Vic Firth sticks, which is what I use, I find that actually the American flag, the flag that's on there, is right around the balance point of that stick. I don't think that's a scientific thing, but for me, every stick I grab, that seems to be the balance point. And we just want it to be able to balance in our hand like this. Again, it's too top heavy here and it's too back heavy here. I try to always maintain a relaxed grip on the stick. When it comes to how I move my arms, I really want to avoid being tight. I want to move in a relaxed manner, and I don't want any weird things happening like my elbow up here or this elbow up here. I want to, as naturally as possible, raise my hands just as if I was going to eat at dinner. I want to raise my hands and just have everything right here where it's very natural and I'm not making weird stiff motions. When it comes to where I want to place my pedals, for me, I turn just a little bit this way, but I want it to be very natural for my feet. Even though my feet may be just a little uneven down there, the pedals are very natural in how my feet sit on them. So there's no weird angles where my feet are splayed in different directions. For the seat height, I like my seat height to be parallel or just above parallel when I'm sitting at the drum set. For me, just above parallel is the most comfortable. And then let's real quickly cover how we hit these cymbals, especially the crash cymbals. When we hit the cymbal, we don't want to come straight down on it like this. We want to have a glancing blow. Now look, we don't have to make it look weird like this, right? We simply want to play off of the cymbal instead of playing directly through the cymbal. Okay, back to that drum beat. We're not even 10 minutes into this and you've learned your first drum beat, and this drum beat is going to allow you to play 4 songs. I'm going to tell you about those in just a minute. By the way, I have all of these lessons in this 10-day series on my website. You don't have to enter your email or anything. Just go to the website and I've arranged them in a chorus for you so that you can follow along logically, see all the videos together after they're released, and you can mark off when you're done with the lesson. That link is in the video description. All right, so now we've built the drum beat up and it should sound something like this. In drumming, we're gonna have something that I call transition points. That's gonna be the point that you move to another voice on the drum set. And these can be real hang-ups when you're playing a song. You'll notice some of the songs that I reference, they're playing the ride cymbal and then they're playing the hi-hat. So we have to know how to get in between them. So what I'd like you to do is, now that you can play this drum beat, I want you to play 1 measure of the drum beat on the hi-hat. Remember, that's what this is called. And then I want you to play 1 measure of the drum beat on the ride cymbal, which is what this is called. I suggest you do it slowly, and it'll sound like this. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, right cymbal, 1, 2, 3, hat, 1, 2, 3, right cymbal, 1, 2, 3. This seems like a very small skill, but it's really instrumental because we are constantly switching in between voices, and there can be a little bit of a hiccup in the groove if we're not careful with how we're switching. Now, some of you are like, Steven, 1 measure of each is really fast. It's hard for me to change like that. You see, we want to hit the problem area in our practice time, and the problem area is not the drum beat. You've proven you can play that, right? The problem area is the transition. So I want to make a feedback loop of 1 measure and 1 measure where I'm hitting the transition in between them as often as possible. Once you master 1 measure, then maybe we can go 2 measures at a time on the hi-hat, then 2 measures on the ride cymbal. That would sound something like this. 3, 4. Okay, once we've mastered that, then I want to add one more thing before you're done with this lesson, and then you're ready to go start playing some songs. I want to add the crash cymbal. A crash cymbal is something that we naturally do whenever we're transitioning to a new voice. It's not a hard and fast rule. We don't always have to use it, but you'll find it's used a lot of times when we make a transition. This actually creates a new pattern because instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, now it's crash cymbal with kick drum, then over to the other voice for the and. So we have to practice that. Practice it slowly. We're gonna do 1 measure loops. 3, 4. Now in songs, for the most part, you're not going to be crashing like that every measure, but just for practice, remember, create that feedback loop so we can hit the problem area in our practice time as much as possible. Now you're ready to play your first song. In my online drum school, I'm always talking to my students about playing music every time they sit down to the drums. We have weekly calls, and every call on every week I'm talking about play music, play music, play music. So it's only logical that in your first lesson you learn a song, but actually you've learned 4 songs. Before I tell you what the songs are, you may notice that every now and then they hit an extra bass drum. Every now and then maybe they do a little drum fill. For now, just ignore those. You are playing the song. Trust me, if you can play all the way through that song, keeping this beat, crashing maybe when they crash and going to the ride cymbal when they go to ride cymbal, listen for when they do that, you have accomplished playing the song. The first song you'll try is actually the first song I ever learned on the drums. I sat down, I set my drums up, and I sat down, and immediately I turned on this song. It's called Undone, the Sweater Song by Weezer. I like this song because it's this groove and it's at a slower tempo. At the link below in the video description, I've also got a playlist in the chorus resources that you can go see all of the songs that we're going to be learning. The 4 songs you can now play, we're going to be going through them in terms of how fast they are, so they're going to be getting faster as you go. The second song is John Mayer's Your Body is a Wonderland. The third song, for those of you that like metal, is Avenged Sevenfold, and it's Hail to the King. And the fourth song, which is getting on up there in tempo, and that'll be the challenge for some of you, is Save Your Tears. Now what I would suggest is maybe if you're playing along to it and you have the ability to, like if you're playing along on YouTube, hit that gear icon and you can actually bring the tempo down a little bit, and that will help you master it and then bring the tempo back up. And if you are just learning the drums, I have an online drum school. It's been open now for 14 years. I've put tens of thousands of students through the courses, and I'd love to have you be a part of it. You can find out more info at the links below. Now be sure to tune in tomorrow for day 2 of this course, or if it's already posted, jump over to lesson 2 on day 2. Remember, your goal is 10 minutes a day for 10 days, and our goal is to learn all the material that we need for 20 songs. And we've already learned the material we need for 4 of those songs. In the next lesson, we'll be learning our next drum beat, and we're going to be talking more about transitions and mastering those between 2 drum beats.